Welcome back to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. It's time. It's weekly podcast number whatever. I don't even want to count anymore, but you'll see it when the podcast is listed. We got a big show for you this week. We're going to focus the majority of our efforts on UFC 299, huge card down in Miami, leading up to UFC 300. We got a lot to talk about on that. A lot of picks, a lot of insights and thoughts on the main card. Nobody's got time to go through the whole damn card. So the main card is the focus, but excited for Saturday night and UFC 299. We'll also get into a bit more about Formula One racing, race number 2, and that is in Saudi Arabia, and also touch base on some of the news and notes in Formula One and my thoughts on the Netflix series, Race to Survive, which is what I didn't think I'd be into. Amazing. Actually, it's very good. Season 6, and that's where I'm picking it up. And then we'll give you a few more EPL picks. And but we're going to kick off the show to talk about just a few items that are around the sports world. This podcast is situated out of Toronto. Oh, by the way, follow us on Twitter or X at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. Drop us a line. Let us know that you're following because you're a listener. And then follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Overrated Experience. So heading into this evening, being from Toronto, the Toronto Maple Leafs, NHL, if you're listening around the world, is the hometown, is the big sport in town. And this team that we have here in Toronto for the last 7, 8 years, whatever it has been, is known for the team to have a lot of top talent on the ice during the regular season, but underachieve and fail. I'm going to put it out there, fail during playoff season. Last year, they advanced, finally got past the first round of the playoffs, knocking off the Tampa Bay Lightning, but had a pitiful second round performance against the Florida Panthers. So they didn't really do themselves any good with their performance last season. So going into this season, what were the expectations? Well, not high for me, to be very honest, because of the fact they didn't really have the, what would you want to say, cojones, the sack, the balls, to make an actual significant move where they shook up the roster to make you believe that when it comes playoff time, that they will provide a different result and maybe make a run to the Stanley Cup final. I didn't see that move being made. They made some nice pickups. Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, which I think are valuable pickups. But, they retained the core four: Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares. So what are we going to expect this year? Well, we had 2 big tests this week. Monday against the Boston Bruins, which is a team they most likely will play in the first round, either them or Florida. So they're stuck playing one of the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference. So 4-1 loss on Monday. Really didn't have life. Couldn't really do much offensively. And then tonight, head into Boston after a win last night in Buffalo, but they head into Boston for a second test. They find themselves in a 1-1 hockey game midway through the second period, and then give up 2 goals. 2 goals, and things fell off the rails. And there was 4-1 by the end of the second period. Head into the third period, and there was zero fight from this team. I mean, they did drop the gloves a few times, but as far as feeling any sort of confidence that they were going to make their way back into this hockey game, zero. Austin Matthews, no goals. 2 games against Boston, no goals. So it makes me believe, or not believe, that this team has any juice. Let's go back to it. They don't have the balls, the sack, the cojones, whatever you want to call it, to actually make a run, especially against a team like the Boston Bruins. So, Leaf fans, as I am one, and I'll sit here saying that, you know what, I want them to go on a run, but my expectations are super low. And the NHL overall tomorrow, Friday, it's heading into the trade deadline. So teams have the opportunity to make trades, to add players to the roster heading into the playoffs. We've seen a few moves. Noah Hannafin from the Calgary Flames moved on to the Vegas Golden Knights. They're totally milking this whole salary cap / LTIR, long-term injury reserve, where if you have to put a player on LTIR, you can remove or at least have relief on their cap space for the time being that they're out. And voila, when Jack Eichel and Mark Stone come back starting in the playoffs where the cap does not count, then they'll suddenly have a loaded team to have a playoff run to try to get back-to-back cups. But hey, they know what they're doing. They're masters at it. But they seem to be adding players to a salary cap league that nobody else can. So it's amazing. As far as the Leafs go, I'm on the position that no more first-round draft picks unless you're going to pick up, maybe a Jacob Markstrom, a goaltender of the Calgary Flames, who is a stud goalie, and your hopes are that he can go on a run, just like many goalies do in the NHL playoffs, to take you to the final. If you're not going to get a caliber player like that, forget it. Do not dump any significant draft capital. Sorry, you got to win with what you have. You've given enough chances, and unless you make a significant move, this team's going nowhere. So don't bother. Don't waste the resources. Let it fizzle out if it has to fizzle out, but no more adding to this team. Okay? All right, that's the Maple Leafs / NHL roundup. And I will go back to a prediction that was made on this podcast during the NFL season when Sean Payton took over the Denver Broncos. Right then and there, I knew that there's no way that Sean Payton did not work out with new Broncos ownership, that Russell Wilson was not his guy, and that he must have had provisions that he would be able to remove Russell Wilson where he see fit, regardless of the dead cap money, which is plus $80 million, and that's because they've announced that they're going to release Russell Wilson. Now, I'm not shocked at that move. Again, predicted the move that Sean Payton would not suit up a quarterback named Russell Wilson going into the 2024 season, 25 season next year, and that's what the situation is. However, what I will say is the delusional folks there on X, aka Twitter, like the Robert Griffin III, that guy annoys me. His takes are very, I don't even know what his takes are. It's not from a football perspective. Anybody watching Russell Wilson would know that he is not Russell Wilson from his heyday in Seattle. He wasn't even Russell Wilson at the end of his tenure in Seattle. So I don't know what the hell you're looking at, RG3. There is, making excuses for Russell Wilson why he didn't perform. And he actually said on there making chicken salad with chicken shit or something like that. He's not even close. He's on the back 3, not even the back 9 of his career. Russell Wilson is done. He's slow. His whole value was the ability to scramble, make something out of nothing. And if you watch the clips of his heyday in Seattle, when he's making those plays time and time again, he looks like 30 pounds lighter and quicker than the slow-moving turtle that is now Russell Wilson. Any team picking him up, thinking that they're going to get anything close to a star quarterback that is going to move their chances to make the playoffs or make a Super Bowl run in any way, not happening. Now, keep in mind, if he's going to go to a team, it sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers are interested. But, that's the max value that a team's going to be able to take his ability with the roster they have to get as much as they possibly can. Now, that does make sense for Pittsburgh. What doesn't make sense for Pittsburgh is the report, take it for a grain of salt if you want, if it's true or not, is that they're not even sniffing around to potentially bring in Kirk Cousins, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback. It looks like he may be hooking up in Atlanta. But to shut the door on Kirk Cousins, like right off the bat, like we're not going to talk. I'm not going to give you a call. Talk it out, Kirky. Like how do you like that? It's not. I don't understand the Steelers' thought process here. You have a division that has Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Deshaun Watson, with a conference that has Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and then Justin Herbert now with Jim Harbaugh as coach. What is the thought process? Where are you going to take this roster? Because if you're expecting a playoff run, Russell Wilson, the odds are not going to give that to you. So get your head out of your ass, make the phone call. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kirk Cousins is exactly what you need. And you should be going all out. Unless you're too cheap. I don't know. Bad decision there. But anyway, we're on to the main event of the podcast. UFC 299 live from Miami. I can't be too loud. I'm going to wake up everybody in the house. But I want to do my best Bruce Buffer impression, or at least tribute to the man who announces all our fights in spectacular fashion and get you pumped. So right now we're going to review what my thoughts are on the main event and the main card. I did have the opportunity over the last week or so to backtrack, look at the card. Some fights I found more interesting than others. Try to look at some film to come up with my own conclusions. And what I'll tell you right now, when you look at UFC film and watch the fights versus just sticking to what the results are, looking on their Wikipedia page, checking out the mixed martial arts record, there is a lot to the story that you don't see by just reading the results. Some conclusions I can tell you is that injuries are an absolute huge part of mixed martial arts. And it goes into the betting aspect. Beware that somebody getting busted up or breaking a leg or having an eye poke or an eye swelled shut, a doctor's stoppage. These are all real factors that can swing your bet just like that. Just like that. Okay? And we'll talk about a few of those examples as we review some of the fight card here. Also, when they say don't let it go to the judges, don't let it go to the goddamn judges. When you're watching some of these fights and then you see not just maybe the decision of who won the fight, but if it's not a majority decision, not unanimous, there are fights in here where the Wikipedia page of that fighter specifically references media members 16 out of 16 seen it as a unanimous decision, but one judge decided that to go the other way. So it is absolutely unpredictable. Not just, what fighter may win a fight if it goes to a decision, especially if it's a 3-rounder, which is tough, very tough. But also if it's unanimous or non-unanimous. That's a huge thing. But there's some exciting things going on in the UFC. The main event is for the Bantamweight division. So let's just outline the Bantamweight division, since that's the focal point pretty much of the main card. Is the Bantamweight division is led by, obviously, champ Sean O'Malley, who will be making his first title defense. He's 17-1, and he has a 1-no contest. That was due to an eye poke. He knocked out. Maybe I'll go back. I'll go through that. But watch out for Merab Divashev, I'm going to butcher the name, Divashevli, who right now may be the best bantamweight fighter in the UFC. He's on fire right now. Can't remember the last time he lost. If you remember, UFC 298, he beat Henry Cejudo. Pretty much put him in retirement, pretty much. And he's the guy that's going to, I think, be your next bantamweight champion. After watching a couple fights of his, he's fast, dominant, and be interesting to see if he's the next man up, depending on what happens here at UFC 299. So let's get going here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have I'm not going to try it. I got to be too loud and I'm not going to mess it up, and I don't want you to think I suck at it. So we're going to go with a normal voice right now, and that's Sugar Sean O'Malley. And if you don't know who he is, you know by his hair. He's kind of got like a clown look. He's like a fighting clown, tough clown. Really tough clown, maybe the toughest clown you'll find. Sugar Sean O'Malley will be taking on Chito Vera, Marlon Chito Vera. Now, if you'll notice, it's Sean O'Malley, Chito Vera 2. So where I started backtracking, I picked up the fight, the first fight from the Apex Center. Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. You like the dramatic effect? Okay, great. And what you really need to do is when you watch that fight, I've watched it a couple times. So that was a 3-round fight. Sean O'Malley comes out aggressive. Now, what you're going to notice about Marlon Chito Vera, and this is fight after fight that I've watched him, he's a slow starter. He takes a lot of volume early, especially early in a fight, punches, and sits back and waits, to find his time with a jab or a hook, and he does damage. But don't be surprised that this fight starts off with Sean O'Malley taking the fight to him, and it's going to look like the first 2 rounds, the volume is going against Vera. But don't fool yourself. Chito Vera has lost, I think, 8 times, but it's all by decision. Nobody has taken him out. And he doesn't look as if he has been smacked around even in his losses. Okay? So put that out of your head that Sean O'Malley may knock this guy out. I don't know if that's possible based on what I'm seeing. Okay? So Sean O'Malley, first fight, is taking it to Vera. And what you notice about Sean O'Malley, and they comment many times, he's pretty big for the 135 division. He's got length. He's got a mixture of kicks, like push-off kicks. He switches stances very often. So he goes to southpaw and jumps back and forth. Very active. Throws a lot of punches. Exciting fighter. I don't, like in this fight, he threw punches, and then Vera was responding with leg kicks. And one or more of the leg kicks caught Sean O'Malley where he had something called drop foot, meaning that one of the kicks either deadened a nerve where you noticeably seen that Sean O'Malley had a problem with his foot. And right from there, he was like a wounded animal. He could not put weight on his right foot. I think it was his right foot. And eventually, Chito picked him apart. Sean O'Malley fell on his own. And then Vera, like he should, like a predator, jumped on him, elbowed him, and pretty much ended the fight. So Vera wins the fight, beats Sean O'Malley. That's Sean O'Malley's only loss. Obviously, this makes sense that you want to push Sean O'Malley, you want him to right his wrong, and unless you watched the fight, you didn't understand why he would have lost this fight. It was an injury. I'm not saying that after 3 rounds, he might not have won a decision, but I don't think he would have got knocked out. So that was an interesting start to the kind of looking at this fight. Vera beats Sean O'Malley, and they move on with their careers. And, the pathway's been a little different. Sean O'Malley moves on. He continues to fight and get a few wins. One of the wins that he got was over Peter Yan. And Peter Yan, great fighter. He's actually young, early 30s. Now on a 3 losses in a row. However, again, when you watch Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley, I was actually coming off a no contest against Pedro Munoz after a poke in the eye, inadvertent poke in the eye in the second round. But against Peter Yan, that really drove Sean O'Malley getting this title shot in his previous fight to the fights coming up. He fought Peter Yan, and Peter Yan really took it to Sean O'Malley. I found, both guys were aggressive, but what Peter Yan had that Sean O'Malley didn't was the ability to take him to the ground. And when it came time to decision, you could argue that Peter Yan won that fight. Right? He took Sean O'Malley down. He looked like he was in more control. So I'm not sure how the judges scored this. This is a very controversial decision. Peter Yan looked like he won the fight. Okay? And then you have Sugar Sean O'Malley getting his title shot. And Aljamain Sterling, the champ, I don't understand what his strategy was. He was backing up, allowing Sean O'Malley to chase. And once he moved forward, and during the second round, Sean O'Malley countered him, basically almost knocked him out. Referee looked like he ended it early. That's how he becomes champion. And when I look at this fight, and I look at Chito had a run, different wins, some decision, but he knocked a few guys out. Dominic Cruz, leg kick. Dominic Cruz is they're throwing punches here, and then bam, leg kick. Dominic Cruz, lights out, gone, bye bye. All right. So what I'm saying here is Chito. You think he's getting lambasted here? He's getting run over, and then bam, he's got a counter punch. Bam, he's got a kick. So watch out. This could turn into a situation where Vera could knock Sean O'Malley out. I could see it happening. So I know that Sean O'Malley is a heavy favorite, but Vera is absolutely dangerous. Now, Vera did struggle against... Sorry, it's my papers here. Let me turn my page. Man, it's loud. Okay, so he did struggle against Corey Sandhagen, who he lost to via decision. And here's one of the decisions. Corey Sandhagen, I don't think Vera was going to the hospital, but I think he frustrated Vera, Sandhagen did, with the constant movement, punch, volume, punch. And when it came down to points, there's no question. He crushed Vera. Again, slow start. Not a lot of volume of punches, and when you have, it goes to the decision, you're going to be in a tough spot because you didn't throw enough punches, and he lost the fight. And here's what I'm talking about: is Corey Sandhagen clearly dominated, this fight, but it was a split decision. A split decision. There is no way, if you watch this fight, unless you were taking shots of tequila, maybe you took a bump, somehow, you were not watching this fight. And this is where, you have some bets out there that'll, you can decide if you want it to go by decision. Is it unanimous? You make those bets, you have a risk that a judge is going to dictate the outcome that may not be the outcome that should, be the result that you're looking for. So I'm warning you now. So now these guys are matching up again. All right? So we have Vera taking on O'Malley. Vera, here's my thoughts. Will this fight go the distance? I think it will. 5 rounds. It's a championship fight. And to note, Sean O'Malley has fought his one championship fight, and it went to 2 rounds. He knocked out Sterling in 2 rounds. As far as I can tell, he has not seen those championship rounds. Now, Vera, on the other hand, has, in the last while, been involved in some UFC main events on those free-to-fight cards. So he has gone the distance in many of his fights, actually. So he's very comfortable. He looks very fresh heading into the 4th and 5th round. He will not look beat up. He's a piece of iron. Okay? So the way I'm looking at betting this, and I'm using FanDuel, by the way, is I'm looking at this fight to go to the distance. I think it will. If you think that Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight, it's going to go the distance. Again, I said Veras has not been knocked out. He's not been TKO'd. There's not been a stoppage. There has not been an injury risk that I've seen for Chito. So this fight will go the distance. I got it at minus 118. Also, I was going to put Sean O'Malley winning unanimous decision, and I was doing that. I was going to do that based on he'll probably win the first 2 rounds on volume alone, and then steal a 3rd round somewhere where you can't deny that he won this fight as it goes to a decision. But then I thought about what I told you about some of the things I've seen in the decision field, decision side here in some of these fights, and I'm like, I'm not touching this. I'm not going to get screwed over by some judge who is out to lunch and really not watching the fight, scoring properly. So I'll tell you what. Here's my thought, and you take it as what you want, your own risk. My big bet here would be, will this fight go the distance? Yes, minus 118. Not who won, but who will go the distance. Value. Okay, here's value. Even for a small bet. I don't see Vera, if he wins this fight, winning based on a submission. Okay, I'm not seeing that happen. But what I could see is a TKO or a knockout. He's got that kind of power. He does. He has that kind of power. Whether it be kicking, whether it be punching, whatever. Or, maybe there's a medical stoppage, just like there was. Well, not a medical stoppage, but a medical situation was definitely a factor in that first fight. So TKO, KO, 4th round plus 2,700. So even if you put $10 on Chito to have a KO win or TKO win in the 4th round, $10 will get you $270 profit. And then if you put Chito to win TKO or KO in the 5th round, $10 will get you a $300 profit. So why not throw in $20? Split the 10 each bet. Take your chance. It doesn't happen. Goes to a decision. There you go. You got your big win. I don't see this ending in 3 rounds. And I also don't see Vera not going to a decision. I don't see him getting beat up here. Okay? So take it for what you may, but that is how I see the main event going. Now, we do have a co-main event. Dustin Poirier taking on Benoit, God of War. Saint-Denis, former French military, special forces, I believe. I actually read that he works for a private company, a security company, military company back in France. So God of War absolutely makes sense. Benoit is a favorite here at minus 215 to win this fight. Dustin Poirier plus 165. And this is where we get on kind of the card portion where we have potentially the name, the Dustin Poirier, that everybody knows, versus the guy who's the up-and-coming killer in Saint-Denis. So Poirier's resume, he's fought the best in the division, Even Khabib, he lost to Khabib, but he fought Khabib. He fought. He's gone through Conor McGregor, fought him 3 times, beat him twice. He's fought Chandler. He's fought oh my gosh, what the hell's his name? Justin Gaethje lost. He has a resume. He's a proven commodity. He's fought the best of the best. And how does that compare to the up-and-coming Benoit Saint-Denis, the God of War? How does that compare? So that's where you got to kind of think, is that now he's taking a step up. What will that look like? What will that look like? Well, right now, I'm thinking, I'm still on the Denis side of things. Benoit is my guy. If you've watched his fights, he's a killer, man. He's a goddamn killer. And he'll fuck you up. He'll fuck you up, knock you out, or he'll choke you out. He will make you tap or make you go to sleep. He's got the full range. He's aggressive. He's dangerous. And when he took on Thiago Moises in Paris, he was part of the undercard, but crowd was going nuts for him. This home crowd. Counter. Yeah. How this fight at TKO stopped defending. Oh yeah, he knocked out Thiago Moises. He just ground and pound, man. Ground and pound into victory. Referee had to stop it because of the Thiago couldn't defend himself. But he took on Matt Frivola, which was actually a pretty decent fight. He's like Frivola was sticking in there, but bam, leg kick, done. KO, out, done, win. That's it. He's dangerous. Okay, so he's had a lot of great fights, dangerous fights. He's a dangerous man. But you also have Dustin Poirier, who's fought the best of the best. And this fight is not going the distance. This is a 5-round as well. It's co-main event. I thought for some reason earlier in the week it was a 3-round, but the betting lines are based on the 5 rounds because of the co-main event status. And the welterweight division, by the way, I think we're talking. Yeah, welterweight division. And what you have with Dustin Poirier is a guy who likes to throw. Man, if you watch the Michael Chandler fight, you watch the Gaethje fight, man, he is going all in, fists ablazing. He's not looking to grapple. He's not looking to tap you out. He is looking to knock you out. And he trades punches. And then he got knocked out by Gaethje. He obviously got submitted by Khabib. Who else submitted him? Let's see, Dustin Poirier. Love the name. Poirier, light title. Olivier. Charles Olivier. Oliveira. A tough Brazilian, obviously choked him out. So he is going to go all in right off the bat and test the young fighter. Risking, though, getting knocked out, getting submitted. And that's what I think is going to happen. You're not going to touch, the betting line. Will the fight go the distance? Is minus 550. So you're not going to touch it. But, this is not going 5 rounds. I'll tell you that right now. So what I have is I got Saint Denis. I got a couple wagers that make sense to me. 1, it's not going to go the distance. 2, I don't think Poirier is going to hang in here. Maybe despite a tough or a start, an aggressive start, I don't see him hanging. All right, I see him going to sleep or getting choked out. So I would take both just to be safe. I would take the Saint Denis wins by KO at plus 340. And also Saint Denis by submission. Okay? So I think Dustin Poirier is going to start cracking. He's going to start throwing them. But he's going to get countered, knocked out. But if, Saint Denis could also choke him out. So the plus 165, you make a little profit by taking both. But I think Saint Denis wins this. Doesn't go to a decision. So it's got to be either submission or KO. So I think there's value there. Value as well, will this fight go beyond a round and a half? Well, just note, the round and a half means is that if they go into the second half, to count as the over, the fight has to keep going after the 2:30 mark of the second round. If it, for some reason, 20 seconds into the second round, that Saint Denis knocks him out and the referee stops it, and you took the under round and a half, you would get the victory. So I think there's value here at plus 160. I think it was the minute mark that Gaethje knocked him out. I could be wrong on that one, but it turned around pretty quick in the second round after, both fighters were trading shots in the first round. And it was lights out for Poirier very early in that second round. So value bet plus 160, under a round and a half. Also, there's a bet will fight start. Sorry, there's also a bet will the round 3 start. You can find this on FanDuel. Minus 110. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say this is going to be over by the second round at max. So there's a little bit of value there. So that is the main event and co-main event. And now we go on to this fight. The next one, Kevin Holland taking on Michael Venom Page, MVP. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an intriguing fight. You have a veteran in Kevin Holland coming off a loss, but he's a UFC veteran taking on Michael Page, Venom, who's having his first fight at 36 years old in the UFC after spending a lengthy period of time in Bellator. And so I don't know what to expect. He's a very flashy fighter, Michael Page is. But Kevin Holland is who is the favorite in the fight, by the way, minus 136. And Page is plus 106. And where did I see this happening? I don't think the fight's going to go the distance. Sorry, I do think the fight will probably go the distance. And it's minus 150 to do so. And the only bet I'd play, think here, I think there's value in having taken Page at plus 106. He's probably going to throw more volume. He's probably going to be the more aggressive fighter. He's a bit cocky, so he might put on a show here. But, so I don't have much of a take on this one other than I think there's value taking the new guy. What's next after Michael Page potentially wins? I don't know. Do they fast track him to up the card to kind of, be involved into some more high profile fights? Possibly. So we'll see what happens here. So we'll go beyond that fight. Now we got an intriguing fight. Gilbert Burns. Taking on Jack Della Maddalena. I don't know much about Jack, to be honest. I know Jack about Jack. Right? He's got an impressive win streak going right now. However, I really wasn't thinking much of Gilbert Burns, who's a plus 138 in this fight versus a 170 that Jack is. And I'm watching, Gilbert Burns' last few fights. And it's hard not to be impressed, right? He did lose, 5-6 fights ago. Kamaru Usman, he got knocked out. Usman obviously at that point was the peak of his prime. He knocks off Wonder Boy in a decision. And then I watched a Kazmat Chimanov fight. I butchered the name. And Chimaev can really throw. And that was the first fight he was actually tested. And this went to a decision. And Gilbert Burns landed a lot of shots, man. He went down swinging. He lost a fight. He should have lost the fight. He lost it by points, fair and square. The judge's decision was correct. It was unanimous. But he was in there throwing against a tough opponent. High-level opponent. He took care of business against Neil Magny, submission. Jorge Masvidal, pretty much at the end of his career, did what he had to do, but he dominated that fight. You watched that fight. He had a lesser opponent. When I say by lesser opponent, a guy who's on the, pretty much done and he out punched him, he out jiu-jitsu'd him. Like he was the better fighter 100%. And he lost against Belal Muhammad, who's considered probably one of the best fighters in the world. So it's not shocking that he lost that fight. And he goes up in this fight as an underdog. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take Gilbert Burns. I trust Gilbert Burns with his ability to throw down, but also his jiu-jitsu is amazing. And submission game is top-notch and will come out victorious. And I think there's real value at plus 138. Also, will the fight go the distance? It's a 3-round fight. And if you look back right now, Jack Della Maddalena, his last 2 fights have gone to decisions. And Gilbert's have gone 5 out of the last 7 fights have gone to decisions. So being at plus 150 that this fight will go 3 rounds, I like it. There's value here. I mean, if Burns feels he can't trade shots, he's gonna try to go to the ground game, and it's gonna be a lot of time wasted. So take it for what that is. This fight will go the distance. Now we got an intriguing fight here. This will open the main card, and this is what makes this card so good, because there's a lot of depth on the main card. There's Peter Yan coming off 3 straight losses, taking on Song Yadong, Chinese fighter. Yan is a minus 124 favorite, plus 102 for Dong. I watched, Peter Yan, veteran fighter, very good fighter. This is a real test for him. Is he going to go back on the win streak? Is he going to move back, keep declining? Is he's got apparently a year off since last fight. So has he made the necessary adjustments? And he's going against Song Dong. This guy likes to throw, man. He likes to throw. He likes to throw a lot of punches. He's a stand-up fighter. Now, the expectation is that this fight will probably stay up on, trading punches. But I think Yan has the ability to surprise a few takedowns here as they want to trade. Why would Yan want to only trade shots here? I don't understand. I heard a couple folks talking about this may just stay up as a boxing match pretty much. I don't get it. I think Yan has an advantage to throw in a little bit of the ground game. And this might be a points-related situation. He needs to get back on the win track. And in a 3-round fight, you don't have much time. And you got to take advantage of your capability that the other guy doesn't have. Although not saying that Song Yadong has the ability to defend the takedown. I've seen a couple fights where he did a very good job on that. And, he's a tough guy, too. The fight against Sandhagen, he had it was Vera Sandhagen. So he had his eye. It was a stoppage in the 4th round. Yeah, it was against Sandhagen. That he had a big, huge cut based on an elbow that Sandhagen threw. That basically by the 4th round, his eyebrow looked like it was falling off. But he stuck in there. The doctor had to stop the fight, but he was ready to go for that 5th round. And he throws down. Young guy. So I see this as an exciting fight with a little mix of Peter Yan throwing in a few takedowns here and there. And hopefully, if he's successful, I think he squeaks this out by points. But I think the minus 124 is something worth of value. Okay? So that is the main card, UFC 299. Excited to see what happens on Saturday. Don't want to miss a fight on the main card. Really enjoyed backtracking, looking at some film when you know the result. I think it gives a different perspective on how you look at the fight, because you may be surprised in how the result got to where it was. Maybe a fighter was controlling a fight and they got a head kick or they got knocked out, or you don't understand the decision that was made, which I mentioned earlier has happened. I witnessed in these fights. So I really enjoyed backtracking and really looking at this a little more in depth, this fight card. We'll try to do the same thing for UFC 300, which is the big card coming up in April. And Now, for you Formula One fans have been waiting for me to touch base on the Formula One. Well, here we are. So, what can I say about the Formula One experience? Not going to lie. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Okay? The first race in Bahrain really didn't have any surprising, results. Team Red Bull, and I'm learning as we go here, guys. Okay? Team Red Bull has dominated, over the last few years, and it didn't stop in the season opening race. Max Verstappen got the 26 points because he finished first and had the fastest lap in qualifying or in the race, whatever. I can't remember. You get the point. And Sergio Perez, his partner, finished second, followed by Charles Leclerc of Ferrari. So, interesting result, not a surprising result. We're going to head into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which has only been around since 2021. So I've been doing some research and been looking at. Now I'm not going to lie, I'm loving the Drive to Survive. I talked about this in the start of the podcast. Drive to Survive, the Formula One series, and the new season, at least on Netflix, at least what I could tell, is season 6, and it goes through last season, the 2023 season. And what I like about this is that because there's 20 cars and there's 10 teams, 2 cars per team, there is enough of these teams and drivers, but not overwhelmingly so many, that I think they can tell a great story every year. And what I'm seeing in the first couple episodes is that you really get to know the drivers, because they kind of focus on a team each episode, and they get you in behind the wheel so you can hear the conversations that are going on between the pit crew and the drivers as they're racing. And up to this point, you get the Red Bull team. You see they are the New York Yankees, the Boston Celtics, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the standard bearer. The Man Cities, they're the standard bearer of Formula One racing at this time. I didn't know they actually have 2 teams, so there's almost like a secondary team. It's honestly, it's like their minor league team. They obviously put their top drivers, but they have such demand for drivers that they expect excellence as well when it comes to any of the teams. So they have basically 2 teams. So what's interesting, and if you've read the news, Christian Horner, who is the principal of Team Red Bull, is in some hot water right now, or at least the stories of hot water about some misconduct or allegations. But somebody's brought forward him. And today's news was the person who brought the allegations towards him has been suspended by Red Bull. So that's a twist of events. But you notice his impact. He's the guy. He's the guy. He is the George Steinbrenner. He is the Jerry Jones. He is the Vince McMahon, if you like wrestling reference. But he is the guy that is the power of Formula One, that gets the pick of the litter of the top drivers, because everybody wants to be there. So, and he's actually married to Ginger Spice. I didn't know that. So interesting. He follows him and his lifestyle, which is interesting to see behind the scenes, but he's a cutthroat. He's a cutthroat, man. And you notice a lot of these guys in Formula One are cutthroat. So the series goes behind the scenes, talks about a lot of, or I don't know if they're making these stories up or at least embellishing, but you had, the Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso, and Lance Stroll, who is actually the son of the Aston Martin owner. And, he begins the season joining his dad's team at Aston Martin. And the day before, like the week before, whatever it was, 2 weeks or a month before the first race in Bahrain, he gets in an accident, like breaks his wrist and breaks some bones. So he can barely grip the wheel when he comes back, and he just shows up and he races and finishes third, which is a wild story that they're telling. So you follow us, the Aston Martin team, the build of their car. You get a sense of what their issues are, and then you got the McLaren team, it was actually very interesting with Lando Norris and Oscar Pistori. That Lando Norris has been with the McLaren team for a lengthy period, or not McLaren team, but the principal, the guy running the team. He's been with him a long period of time. And the question is, how loyal is Lando going to be? Because there is, it's known that the car they started out with last year is not to the level where, they're going to be able to compete with Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes. So and then there is talk about Lando Norris being an up-and-coming driver that's with McLaren, who McLaren, by the way, is one of the obviously top historical Formula One teams of all time that has dropped in performance. And they're openly talking about other teams potentially poaching this driver, Lando Norris. Like you have, the Red Bull guy, Horner, talking on camera that, he'd be a great member of this team, he this or that. And no other North American sport are you allowed to, that's tampering. It's tampering. But it's open to talk about on a goddamn Netflix special. So it's intriguing, the Formula One world. What I like about it is you do get to see that it is cutthroat. It's win or die. That's what it is. You fucking win or you're done. Right? They had a story about the second Red Bull team had to swap out drivers because their young driver wasn't cutting it. And it was simply, we're done. Bye-bye. You see him leaving his hotel room. He's out. The veteran who was kind of toiling around waiting for a ride is in. And now he's out there as back in Formula One. It is cutthroat. And even the drivers are looking to enhance their career, that if they have an opportunity to jump ship to another group, they will do it for top dollar and to make sure they have the best car to win and hit the podium as many times as they can. So interesting world that is Formula One. And anyway, heading into Saudi Arabia, last year, Alex did not win. All right. Alex Verstappen did not win, which is a surprise, but he did finish second. And Sergio Perez, his partner, his second vehicle at Red Bull, did win. So I guess there's value to look at Perez maybe winning again in this race, plus 1,600. But right now, as the season progresses, I don't think I'm ready yet to go beyond Alex Verstappen, because he's so goddamn dominant that he owns everything. Now, what I will say is Aston Martin's other driver, Fernando Alonso, finished third in this race last year. So I would take him as a podium finish. And he was plus money. I can't tell what it was. I didn't write it down. But Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin might be some value to hit the podium first, second, or third. Now, that is the story in Formula One. I'm going to give you a couple picks in another European sport, which is English Premier League. We did pretty good last week. We had a couple bangers there. And now we're going on to two games, one from Saturday and one for Sunday. Things are heating up in the title race for the EPL crown. But we're going to start on Saturday. Wolves host Fulham. Fulham's been on a tear the last two games. Excuse me. Scoring goals. Wolves giving up goals. So what I like on this is a same game parlay. Over 1.5 and 9 shots on target. Plus 102. And these teams finished like I think 3-2 last time they played. Like 12 shots on target. So I like it to calm down a little bit. But still plus money. I'll take it. Sunday though is the big matchup. We talked about Liverpool and Manchester City. 1 point difference. Liverpool on top right now. But, I think time has come. I think Man City have already booked their trip to the final 8 in the Champions League. Now they can fully concentrate on the domestic league for now. And guess what? You give me Man City at plus 125 to win, I'll take it. I don't care if it's Liverpool or not. Man City's still the best team. Maybe Europe, not just the English Premier League. Plus 125. Mark it down. Manchester City. Sunday. Well, anyway, we've talked about some thoughts on the Leafs, the Broncos, Russell Wilson, and him getting his walking papers. Talked about mostly about UFC 299. Just excited to check it out this Saturday. And then we have our Formula One drama and trying to dip our toes into that. And of course, not dipping our toes, all in on EPL action this weekend. So the Overrated Experience is done for the night. This guy's tired. It's time to go. Pleasure's all been yours. So the Overrated Experience is over and out. Bye-bye.